Hi, this is Bonnie and I am back with my gel plates, and there was something that I wanted to try. I tried to find on YouTube if anybody tried this before, and I did recently do it myself, and I thought I'd share what it was that I had done. And basically I used my gel plates with my brushes, and I'm talking about the blending brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how, I have been showing you the scenes on just regular cardstock and using the Distressed Oxide. This time I'm going to put the Distressed Oxide directly on the gel plates and show you how you can do a gel plate scene in a little bit different way. And I'm also going to be adding some cosmic shimmers and water. So let's see what we can create today. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is use the Distressed Oxide, and this one's mustard seed. And I'm just going to fill up my brush, and I'm going to do a sun, and so that's going to be basically in the center. And I am just going to go ahead and make a circle right there in the middle of my, and you can see that pretty good on there. And I'm going to go ahead and try even do, this is a 5x7 and this is a 4-inch circle. And I'm just going to go ahead and play with that too and add that to it, seeing as it's on my plate. The next thing I'm going to use is worn lipstick. And I'm just going to go around the outside. I'm going to use another brush. And I'm going to go around the outside of the yellow that I just did with the worn lipstick. And again, you can pretty much see what you're doing with the blending. And you know, once this gets wet, you really don't need a lot of this ink. So I'm going to come and pull that out just a little bit. I'm still going to add a blue. So it's not a lot, not a big deal. And I'm going to add just a little bit of pink on this one. Okay, and then the next color is going to be the brand new Salvaged Patina. And this is really pretty, and it will go good with a summery looking scene. And I'm going to make my brushes stay where they, so I don't mess that up. And the rest I'm going to do is going to be with this blue. And you know, it doesn't really matter that we don't have this whole thing covered either, because you can still get a great print just doing this. And it makes it kind of fun. It's kind of like a CAS card. This is the simple way to do it, I think, and control a little bit more of what you're doing. So I've got that completely covered. I think you can see that. And I'm going to go ahead and do this over here. Okay. So now the next thing that's going to be kind of fun is I am going to, like I said, use my Cosmic Shimmers. And I use an ice cube tray. It just seems to work really well for me. And it was inexpensive. And the one I'm using is Aqua Lagoon. And I'm just going to put a little bit, I hope, because if I push on this, I get a lot. So you can kind of see how much I'm using. And this is really pretty because obviously it shimmers. And I'm going to use the Ancient Copper. And just put a little bit in the cube too. Okay. And then I'm going to just use my little water bottle and give that some color. As you can see. This is kind of a fun part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the wide brush. I don't remember the name of these, but they work really well. And the biggest mess that I ever make is just plain and simple flicking this all over the place. And literally, that is what happens. Now, I know some people have intention where they put their splatters. I don't know why, but I just don't. And you can't see, I'm going to move this over so you can actually see the circle better. Okay, and then I need to kind of clean that blue off on my mat. And I'm going to pick up some of this really pretty gold. Okay. I just needed something fun to play with today, and usually, you know, when I have this much, I like to use it up, whatever I'm doing, but today it might not happen. So, okay, so now I've got everything on there. The next step that I do is I get my spray bottle again, and I just slightly, I do I hold it back so it's not just misting. I want the big drops. All right, so I also don't want these lines that are in here. So what I do is I bring my brush back and I just go like this and kind of break it up a little bit. I don't want too much of that in the sun, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do the same thing with my circle. And yes, yellow and blue make green. So now I have green. So I've got a piece of paper big enough to go ahead and pull that up. It's going to be harder with that one there, but I'm going to do it anyway. I want it to be horizontal, although this really could go either way when I worked on it instead of vertical. Okay, let's just see what we've got, because we can always put more on it. And yes, for the most part, it turned kind of yellow and green in the middle, which will make it great for stamping. I didn't want a solid bit. I wanted it to be just this way. So then what will happen is the stamping part will be really fun. But what I usually do, although I could stamp on this fine, is I'm going to bring this piece into Photoshop, and I am going to add some details to it in there, so then I'll have paper to print, or to stamp rather. All right, so I've got a small piece. I'm going to go ahead and get that there too. Now, if you just want ones that are one color, they're really kind of fun to do also. Let's see that one. Yep, it's really pretty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more just on the 5x7, and I want to show you what I meant by just kind of like pretty much making it one color instead of adding the yellow and how it mixes green. I'm going to use Patina first. I'm really excited about this new color. It's very pretty. And so again, I'm just going to go and make it kind of like, it's not really the moon, but it's just going to be our design. And this time, I am just going to stay with blues. So in this case, because it's Patina, I'm going to go ahead and do peacock feathers. And I'm using the same brush because it's all blue. This one just happens to be a little bit darker than the Patina. Okay. Now you know full well if I add that pink, I will probably get a little bit of a purple, and I'm okay with that. I think that will be really pretty. So my pink is going to go on the outside. And so keep in mind, like I said, if you don't want the green, then don't mix the blue and the yellow on your gel plate. But you can do it intentional. Have the yellow towards the bottom with the blue, and it'll be your grass. So, okay. So we've got this one all set up. And again, I'm going to use my pigment, and I'm going to use my brush, and I'm going to do some more splattering. It is a really simple background. Okay, wipe that off and get some more gold because I love the shimmer on the paper. It is something you lose if you don't use the paper for stamping. If you use the paper for other art projects, which I do, I use it for die cutting, I get to keep my shimmer. But when I go to bring it to my program, I totally lose the shimmer. So let's go ahead and see what this does. Okay, and again, I'm still going to bring in my brush and mix. And actually the brush even gives me the lines, which is what you were seeing on my last paper. So let's go ahead. This one's a little bit skinnier. It was a scrap that I had. Okay. That's gorgeous. And you can see what I mean? It kind of like turned a little bit purpley pink, but not much. But that is really pretty. I love, love, love the center. And I wish you could really see this shimmer, because the shimmer is really pretty on here. So anyway, those are the things. I'm going to go ahead and let them dry. And then I'm going to scan them to my computer, and I'm going to add some texture other than what's already on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a card. Okay, so I have finished, as you know, making the papers. And this is, now that they're dry and everything, this is what they ended up looking like. And I brought those into my computer. I scanned them and put them on my computer and used Photoshop, but any program that you can manipulate your papers with, you can also bring it into there. I'm going to be able to use these just as they are, which I will do, but I also always like to have, like, I kind of like call it a record of what I've made, and then I can use it again digitally. So what I did end up doing, and you can, I'm going to compare these two so you can see. This is the digital version, and this is what the original, whoops, I think turn it the other way around. And there's a light variation in terms of color. And I also add texture when I go to bring that into Photoshop. So you can kind of see the difference between the two. There's texture on this one, and then there's not on this one. And plus, if I use any, when I use the pigments, they have a little bit of glimmer. Obviously, I don't get the glimmer on the digital part unless I add something to it. So that is the circle one. What I usually do is I make a circle in my program, in my Photoshop, and then I insert what I inserted the circle inside of that. I pasted it inside of it so that I would have a clean line on the outside. So then the next one, these are 5x7s, and so to make a 6x6, I will lose a lot of it, and that's what the difference is between these two. And you can also see a color variation again in this. There's only a little bit of the pink on it, but that's just how it changes out. And this one also now has to get a bit of texture, and obviously this one doesn't. And then the next one that I did, I could pick any part of this and put it into the 6x6, which is what I make a square instead of the rectangle. And again, this one has a little bit of the texture. So anyway, I decided I'm going to be using the circle one today, and of the ones that I made, and I'm going to be using this one. And I've already figured out what I'm going to use for the stamps. I'm going to be using Fairy Hug stamps, and I'm going to set this up, and I'll be right back because I need to pull out my stamps. I pulled out what I needed that I knew that I was going to do, but I didn't pull out the stamps. Okay, so I've got them together now so you can see what it is I'm going to be using. The 3 Fairy Hug stamps I'm going to be using is Rowboat, and I'm going to be using the sentiment Believe. And I'm also going to be stamping the flower vine several times. And that's pretty much how that's gonna look. And I started doing something a little bit different in terms of stamping. I've always used the acrylic that comes with them, so I know where I want to put the placement. But I've also discovered that you can actually go ahead and place your stamps right on top of the piece of acrylic where you want it to be. I usually just would put it there and kind of eye it. Well, there is a way you can actually put it on just like this, and then remove that, and you've got it set up that way too. So there's different ways you can do it, and that one I thought worked pretty good. I'm going to be using VersaFine Clear Fallen Leaves for the boat. Well, there's not a big variation because it's dark from the Nocturne. I know there's another color, brown. I might even add a little bit of that to this and see what happens. Because see, that looks really black. I also have Pine Cone, because this one was Fallen Leaves. Let's see if I add just a tad bit of Pine Cone, if it lightens it up. Because it might. And it might not. Let's see. Yeah, it didn't really change it. So once you do something dark, it's not going to really show a whole lot of anything else but that. So, right. So the next thing I'm going to do is set up the sentiment, because that's the most important thing before I put the vines on. And I think I'm going to make it so that this one stays inside of the circle. And I can kind of change it. I mean, you can even change it even though you set it up on top of it. You can still move it around to where you want it to be. And you can still also line it up with the lines in your grid of your stamping platform. So I am going to use the Nocturne. Whoops! I am going to use the Nocturne for this. I love the boat. I love the details of the boat. I think it's really, really pretty. And I think it can be good for a man or a woman. It doesn't really matter the gender. I think it's just it's a nice boat. Okay. All right, that worked really well. And now we're going to figure out how to do the vines. And in order to do this, I usually add that little piece of paper to the side so I don't stamp on my platform. There, I'm going to go down as far as I can with that one. All right. This really won't take very long. Once you have this all set up, just a matter of stamping a couple stamps on it and you can have a really nice card. All right, again, I'm going to use the Nocturne. And I missed a piece. There it is. Okay, I am not going to go ahead and put the sample on because I know where I want it to go once I get one down like this. They kind of, if you look, you can see how it goes in and out. There's a way lots of times you can overlap. It doesn't matter because vines overlap. But there's usually a way you can get that to go on anyway. And I'm going to have to move my paper over. There we go. All right. And that worked out really well. I'm not sure I'm going to go any further. I think I like it just that way. What I was going to do is going to do just a little bit above the words. Maybe I will. Yep, I think that looks good. And again, you can always test this out by using that acrylic that comes with the stamps. It's a great way to test out what you want to put on your card. All right. So now it's just a matter, now I will go ahead and I will put the clear embossing powder on, and I will heat emboss that, and I'll be right back. All right, so I decided that looking at it, my boat needed to be a little bit more grounded, and so I ripped up a piece of card scrap and kind of like ripped it so that it went along the edge of the boat, as you can see. And I'm just going to use Pumice Stone because it's kind of a neutral color. I really don't want it to be, I don't know, I didn't want it to really be noticeable. I just wanted it to be subtle. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen here. So I'm just going to give that just a little bit of color. And we'll take a look. Yeah, I think I'm going to go over to the side too. And right now, as you've heard me say before, it's going over just a little bit of the boat, and so I can come back with a Q-tip or anything that's wet. I think I'm going to go a little bit over this side too, just because it just looks like it's going down. And I just want it to look like it's sitting. Like it's falling down the hill. I just want it to look like it's sitting there. I think I need to go up a little bit further. Okay, I'm going to flip this over just so I have a different edge. All right, so like I said, I usually get a Q-tip, and then I'm just going to clean that little bit off right there with a Q-tip. I get it a little bit wet. Well, here, let me do it so I can show you. You don't want too much water, because if you use too much water, obviously you're dealing with paper, and it'll just pull it right up, and you'll have nothing but white paper. So you just have to be really careful, and I just sprayed it. I just misted it, and I lightly pull that color up off because it's heat embossed, and because I heat embossed it, I can do that. So, and the other thing I'm going to do is I've decided I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp the anchor to make it a little bit more grounded even more. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp the anchor too. Okay, so I thought the anchor would be a good choice, and to me the anchor is a little bit too big for what I want it to look like on here. So I went ahead and pulled out the teeny ocean icons, and I'm going to be using 2 of those. They'll be super easy to cut out. I'm going to put them on top. I'm not going to actually stamp it on the card. So I am just going to go ahead and use Nocturne, and just stamp it on a scrap piece of paper because these will be easy to cut out. They have straight lines and they really do stamp wonderfully. And I am going to go ahead and use the clam, starfish and the clam. And the combination together I think will look really good. So just wanted to show you how that's going to look. And obviously it's not a clam, it's a seashell, scallops seashell. And that works out really well too. So I'm going to go ahead and use both of those and cut them out and put it on. I think I'm going to color them up just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of gold to both of them and put them on. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have these both cut out, and I just added a little bit of gold gel pen to them. That was all. And I'm going to go ahead and place those on the card with double-sided tape. I think I'm going to do it at the same time. Oops. Okay. I think it's just going to go oops. My starfish is flipping. All right, let's see. I don't know why I'm so fussy about exactly where they go, but there you go. So that's where those are going to go. That's going to be the card. And I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope that if you haven't already subscribed, I hope you could. And if you could like this, that'd be super. I hope you had fun and learned something a little bit different. Oh, I know, I needed to ask you too about Facebook. We have Fairy Stamper Hugs is also on Facebook, and we have a challenge every 2 weeks. It starts usually on a Thursday, and there's one currently going on, and you can come and share your cards with us, and we'd love to see them. So thanks for stopping by.